couple weeks ago, John did a devotion on, and how he emphasized how, we're created in the image of God, and one of those aspects is that we're creative as well. So we have a lot of traits like that. I'm a science nerd by degrees, and I love reading about science. And so I've got on a binge lately of this group out in California called Reasons to Believe, and they basically, their premise is, and I love it, it says, if God is the creator of the universe, and they believe he is, then we have the scripture, but we also have the book of nature, and they should agree. And their role, they have like, I think 14 scientists on staff, and they're constantly reading and writing articles. They have biochemists, they got astronomers, cosmologists, amazing. And so they constantly put out podcasts and material, and I read two of their books recently, one called The Creation and the Creator, which just phenomenal, and another one called Beyond the Cosmos. And what this has done for me is just fun. Maybe it's just because I'm a nerd and I really love this kind of stuff, but it gives me a whole different perspective on God. But it's also given me a burden, because a lot of these people will lecture on college campuses. And it's interesting that the college kids will argue with these guys about how the science and the Bible agree. But it's interesting, the more these guys talk to real scientists, the more agreement they get. So for example, there's a field of study called origins of life. And these scientists are trying to figure out how non-life became life. How did the first cells, how did the first living thing come? And they basically have gotten nowhere. They have no clue. It's actually the more they know about cells, and the more know about protein and how the enzymes work, and it's a factory. These things are complex factories, and the more they study, they can't even think of a reason. They can't even hypothetically come up with a way that these complex systems could have come about. So then there's another field of evolution. That's where most of the scientists are talking, but they still preach. Not the origin of life scientists. They're pretty honest about it. They're saying, we don't really know, don't have a clue, can't even think of a way it might have occurred outside of God. But evolution and high school biology books still teach that man came from primordial pool of soup somewhere, and these things just happened to come about. But they're getting backed into a corner. Same thing in astronomy. The Big Bang Theory, which came out in early 20s, was really opposed by theologians, because theologians, a lot of them thought, well, no, that's against God. But man, it is the best weapon to show that God designed and created this universe. But to me, so why does it matter? One is, I really have a burden for our kids and our grandkids, that they need to know about this stuff, because when they go off to college, they get either popular science stuff, there's a lot of popular articles that just are not very scientific, but they trash Christianity and any God thing, and it's all science. So there is really good evidence for God, and to me, it's given me, my God just got a lot bigger, a lot smarter, a lot more in control. Unbelievable. And then there's a whole new field of science that excites me, and it's just growing exponentially, and it's called biomimicry. So these are scientists that study how nature does it, because they're realizing this is the best engineering there is. This is the best design there is, and we're going to try to mimic that. people are studying DNA because the amount of data you can store in DNA far exceeds anything, the best designs we can do. There are estimates. There's a wide range of estimates, but when you think about it, it's still big. The worst estimate is if you took every piece of data in the world from every book in every library and every computer, all the information we have, if you could store it in DNA, the worst estimate is we'd take a tractor trailer truck of DNA. Some people estimate it might take a coffee cup of DNA to store all the data that we have. And there's people doing, there's an insect, when it lands on a leaf, it becomes
What lands on the leaf?
an insect. Its body and wings become 80% transparent in the sense that it converts to whatever it's on, so you can't even see it hardly. But it's a exoskeleton modification. It changes its color, it changes its texture at microscopic level. And so the defense industry is very interested in knowing how to do that so that they could cloak. Oh, I mean, I could talk for about 4 hours of just amazing things about God and his design. That just jacks me up. Sometimes God can be pretty abstract. I can relate better to Jesus than to the Father, because we don't see him and we don't hear him verbally. But when I see his creation, and now I understand more, and as we know more and more, it's backing the atheist into the corner. Matter of fact, there was one good example. So on the Big Bang, there was an atheist that was putting out books, about the Big Bang and how it all got started. And he was really vocal against any assertion that there was a hand of God involved. And over a 15-year period, on his last book, he finally admitted, he says, it's hard not to, the probability is so remote that anything else, this could have come about, that it's hard to deny the hand of God. And it's like, wow, that's a big change from just studying science. So anyway, that's my encouragement. A is, get your kids and grandkids studying this stuff. And there's just so many good, reasons to believe. That's where I've been hanging out lately and reading their books. But it's phenomenal. All right, tonight, what are we going to do? We're going to build some quarter drawers for our storage. I built in a 10-drawer built-in dresser for my sister in her master closet, and I built a 5 one for our 5. And this is a drawer that Joy and I built for our master closet for our dresser. And this is the quarter system. You'll see the drawing there. And I've already got them all cut up, but I wanted to show you how I did it and where I learned it from. So I didn't invent this. This guy here I like his videos, but this is where I learned it from. His channel is called This Is Carpentry. And so we're going to do a flat bottom like that one for our drawers. And as you got the drawing there, they fit together. They'll glue up. All the work is in the setup and figuring out the dimensions. And once you know that, then it goes really quick. Like it didn't hardly take me any time because all the cuts are the same. This cut is the exact same as that on the dado. Everybody familiar with a dado on a table saw? Okay, let me go back to there. So a dado is a special set of blades that you put on a table saw. You build up different blades. So here's 2 blades here and there's some more blades here. And you can make it as thick as you want, from a 1/4 inch all the way to 7/8 inch wide. So you're cutting a groove. So these grooves are 1/4 inch wide grooves and 1/4 inch deep. So this is a 1/2 inch plywood. And so I put these 2 red ones on, and that makes 1/4 inch groove. And then you got to make sure it's a 1/4 inch off the fence. So this is a 1/4 inch here and a 1/4 inch here. That's mostly right. This plywood is not exactly half, so I had to cheat a little bit. and adjust it. And you got to be pretty precise in order to get it tight like that. And the bottom particularly has to be very square, otherwise your box won't be square, because when you clamp them together, they're going to follow. Everything's going to bottom out on these. And so if this bottom piece is not square, then your drawer's not going to be square and it's not going to slide in and out good. It will be tight on one end and not tight on the other end. So that'll be something we're going to be checking as we put them together. All the work was in setting up the table saw with the dado to cut this, but once you get it set up, all these are the same. And these are the side rail. That's the side rail, and then the ends are a little bit different, as you see on your drawing. So they have a rabbet instead of a dado. And the way I did that, so here's my setup with the dado and my fence. But the rabbet, the guy in the video, the way he does it is if this is your fence on your saw, he comes and does it this way. But as you see here, I don't have a very big, that little red plate is not very wide. So I made a change. What I did is I put a plate on it. You see this plate, a 1/4-inch plate that I clamped to my face. So now when I run it this way, it's got a 0 tolerance, so it's just taking a 1/4 off. So that's the way I made those. And so the base has a rabbet joint well. The other option is instead of a 1/2 inch with a rabbet, you could just use 1/4-inch plywood in the bottom. If you had a small drawer and you're just going to put light stuff in it, like if you're making a drawer about that size, probably a 1/4-inch plywood fit right in the groove. You wouldn't have to do this rabbet.
And you could do that rabbet with that setup in that picture.
Yes, that's what I did. I ran this like this along here because this blade is actually touching that wood. You can see where it made a burn mark on that wood. So there's 0 clearance between the dado and the fence. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It's that close.
That's close, yeah, on purpose. Actually, I burned it in a little bit because since this wood is between a 64th and a 32nd less than a 1/2, but I can't make my blade more than a 1/4, I needed to inset it just a little bit so this didn't get too deep right here. So I actually pushed in about 32nd of an inch into that wood so that this edge here was the right distance. And you'll see when we put them together, they're very precise.
What kind of wood is that? Did you say
Oh,
plywood?
I'm glad you asked. Yeah, so I was going to talk about different kinds of plywood. I'll pass these around. There's
Would you start with a 4x8?
I got all of these. That box is about 1 4x8. I can make 9 drawer boxes out of a 4x8. And I bought I bought this at Home Depot for 45 bucks.
Just that little square, right?
No, a 4x8, a 4x8 sheet, and it's fairly soft. I made this one with maple plywood, and I paid $60, but now that maple is, I think, almost $80 for a sheet.
And there are cheaper places to get
Yeah.
plywood than Home Depot.
Yeah, but this is a lot softer, and it's only $45. So look at the one there. There's one there that's got about five little thin layers. That's golden. That's what everybody wants to make cabinets and drawer boxes out of, but they're hard to get. That's called Baltic birch, mainly made in Ukraine and Russia. Now Russia moved most of production to Vietnam so that they can get past the sanctions. So it's still available in the U.S., but it's a lot more expensive than it is. But that's really good stuff, and it looks good. That's a dream. So hopefully everything in a few years, when the war's over and everything's back, we can get some Baltic birch, and it's better. You can see that this stuff is only 3 core layers and then a thin veneer layer on the outside. If you can see it.
It look like the plywood I'm used to seeing.
Well, this is nice finished plywood. It's not construction plywood. So yeah, this is. I guess you could make.
Must have been down the wrong house.
There's all sorts of grades. So you can get a sanded finish. And this is a sanded finish with this has no knots in it, no cutouts. But there's a whole gradation of plywood. But if you're using sheathing for underlaying a floor or behind the, on a wall, that's fine. But you talk about, if you measure the thickness of that, it's going to vary substantially. This stuff's been sanded to be pretty accurate, but even this one, I measured a 64th difference in one end to the other. So, but for these kind of drawers, it'll be fine. So, anyway, that's here's just a couple pictures of my shop. There's my right here's my little table saw. All I do, I have it set up specifically just for making cabinet boxes because it took so long to get it set up. I decided I'm just going to leave it. I tweak it, and then this is my regular main table saw. And that's the first thing I bought 44 years ago, Shopsmith. 3 months before I got married, I said, if I don't buy it now, I'll never get it. Here's the other thing that really helps that I use. I built it when I moved into this house 3 years ago. It's 2x4s on 2 sawhorses. And this is where I saw up all my plywood. So I bought 40 sheets of plywood and I'm down to 18 pieces because I've been making cabinets. And so if I zoom in, you'll be able to see all the saw marks. So when I do my track saw, the saw blade cuts into it. So it's sacrificial. And then when I need to build something big, I just stick a sheet of plywood on top and then it makes a big table. So let me show you how we're going to put them together. There's a little technique you learn. So the first thing you do is you'll notice in your drawing that the ends, with the rabbets, you can't just slide those in. They have to be, the ends, the sides actually have to come in on top of them. So the way to start is get one of the sides. That's the one that has both 2 directions on the same side. And then you insert the bottom into that, like so. So it should be flush on the bottom when that's done.
So the rabbit is on the bottom.
The rabbit's on the bottom, so the whole thing is flush. And then I recommend that we dry fit everything before we start gluing up. And then you find the end pieces, which have the rabbit on the ends and 1 groove. So then you insert that in. We might have to sand a few little burrs off. Okay, then that goes in. And once that's down, then this should slide in just on top. So. And then what we'll do when we dry fit it, we want to get a square and make sure it's really good and square. And then we'll take it apart, glue it together, and clamp it. And then.
I have some clamping squares.
Okay, that'll be awesome. Yeah.
As well, so
I tried a couple, and boy, they're coming out real square because I cut it better than I did those. Those we had trouble getting square. We worked at it when we glued it together. But I think I did a better job of making sure the base was square and all the dimensions were correct. So I think that makes the assembly, it kind of self-squares itself because each of the ledges is butting up against the sides and the ends, so it self-squares. What we're going to do here is we're going to do side roller bearing on the side. So we'll fasten this to the side and then like that and slide it in and out. The disadvantage of these and the challenge with these are, and we'll find out if I measure it right, but the width has to be very precise because there's no leeway this direction because this thing doesn't really compress. There's not much slop in a ball bearing. And so this will fasten to here and then there'll be another board here. And the only thing you can do is leave it a little screw loose if you don't quite get it, but you got to be within probably a 30-second to get it. So I came up here and John helped me measure, get it right. So we got 2 different size boxes, and the only recourse you have is we're putting 2 3/4 inch boards in on the sides that go between here and here. We could sand those down if we're not fitting, but hopefully we've measured correctly. We'll see.